Now we are facing down the European Parliament election. This is the penultimate day, well, the ultimate day. And let's talk about the evolution of the European Union, how it'll look in the future, and has Ukraine got a real chance to joining the European Union? Joining us right now is Petras Auštrevičius, Lithuanian MP. Hello, sir, and welcome to TVP World.
Good morning. Pleasure to be with you.
So as an MEP, can you help us understand, first of all, the importance of this electoral process?
Well, indeed, if probably in previous elections we heard very little about, issues which really take people, in alert, bringing some urgency into the public discussion. Previous elections were, I would say, much boring. I mean, to compare with the today's elections, with the elections for the 11th directly elected European Parliament. Why? Because, I mean, war came back to Europe. Security situation is indeed threatening and challenging each and every. Economic competitiveness, again, is at stake with the growing other world parts much faster than Europe. European economies are facing increasing competition. And finally, migration, which is still not a settled issue, although decisions are taken, but not every member state is happy with the conclusive decision. So I would probably describe the situation as we have no deficit for top and very urgent issues which are on agenda. So that's why these elections in European Union are decisive, because from the composition, from the I hope mainstream political forces' strength or final figure in the European Parliament will depend much what will be the decision-making process in the European Parliament, what speeches we will hear, what decisions might be made. So that's why I really call on the Europeans: come to election, vote, decide, and look to the future, which must be much safer and stable.
All right, like you mentioned, urgency is key here, and we are looking down some very pivotal issues right now. So we do have to remind the voters that going into these elections is not just a right, but also a responsibility. Now, going back to what you just mentioned about these pan-European topic, can we observe that in recent days, how these kind of topics that is more like on an international scale is continuously being adopted into even domestic politic discussions, being a showcase of how these are becoming increasingly important?
Well, definitely so. The more east you come from the center of Europe, Eastern European, more to the east, Central European, Baltics, even Nordic countries in the Baltic Sea region, the more you hear probably and feel, discussion about security and those threats which come from the Russian Federation and allies of it. Probably more to the west and south, migration-based discussion dominating political scenery. But anyway, I feel that Europeans have a lot of, understanding. Those times when nothing was going on, nothing was threatening Europe are gone. We're living in a very changing, in a very dynamic environment. So responsibility, and those politicians who can propose not just, public discussion, but real decisions are urgently needed. And I hope those political forces will have enough of, strength to make those sometimes unpopular decisions, but it's so necessary.
Right, and of course, when crisis occurs, people could either be divided or further united. And when this election while observing this kind of election, which do you think is more likely to happen? We've heard voices about it being polarizing, but others also observe the evolution of the European Union, especially when it comes to the more Eurosceptic party actually realizing the necessity to participate in this democratic process and trying to play well within the Union.
Well, I feel myself that a rather dividing issue is, let's say, future of the European Union. What kind of a union we need? More, centralized, more having decisions, for example, on security, less veto right for member states. And here we see a lot of, division lines, especially from the right-wing parties, which are speaking about a union of member states rather than the union as such. They are talking about preserving national sovereignty issue as something very important. But, and that issue is not necessarily so clear for many voters. I mean, that's kind of a bit legalistic and more complicated to explain to people what matters more. Not necessarily a very easy matter at all. And probably one more issue is migration. Still, even countries not facing much of migration now. They are, not really much pro, union-based migration decisions.
Right, and within these challenges within the union itself, a lot of people were talking about, of course, EU expansion, but there's creeping topics about the European integration with the fact that now EU is at a size where to get everything in order before expanding maybe is the top of the issue here. What's your take on this?
Well, definitely. It's one of the major issues which probably will be a dominating matter, the European agenda for probably a decade and more. I don't see enlargement happening very easy, very quickly, and without any discussion, not at all. We are speaking about 9 countries more, plus 27. We are well exceeding 35. It will be a different European Union. So that's why we have to change even some sectorial policies. One, for example, is a budgetary policy. So new contributions will be needed. The European budget will have to enlarge. And of course, for example, even the common agriculture policy must be adopted to this change. Not to speak about the decision-making process in the European Union. Now we're having a European Parliament of 720. The number will be elected today. But with new member states, easily we will exceed maybe 850 if to keep the same proportions of representation for new member states. So that's why buildings must enlarge, decisions and sectorial policies must be changed. But I hope European Union member states are serious about EU enlargement, because it's about the EU security, about European stability and certain prospects for those countries. Otherwise, many countries, candidate countries, will fall back and will be more probably kind of broken or unsuccessful states around the European Union. It's not good for them. It's not really a great perspective for us.
Right, you just mentioned that we might be looking down a change in decision-making policy as well as sectoral policy. And of course, this is all the process of the grand evolution of the European Union as we know it. That is perhaps already taking shape as the electoral process commences. Is it safe to say that we might be looking down a slightly different European Union post-election?
Well, maybe in a certain way, yes. It will be a bit bigger European Parliament. Now we are 705, will be 720. I'm sure will be a bit different political parties representation. Certainly, right-wing parties will get more seats in the European Parliament. But at what I'm looking for with great expectation, that's a sense of responsibility and kind of strategic thinking. So we can't be, stuck in the past, finding no decision for future. That time is over. We have to wake up against all challenges we're facing now.
All right, definitely. So as we continue to tune into these elections, of course, let me emphasize again how important this electoral process is. And meanwhile, thank you so much, sir, for being with us. And Mr. Petras Auštrevičius, Lithuanian MEP, thank you again so much for being with us on TVP World.
Pleasure mine.